And welcome to Screen Source, everybody. My name is Fernando.
I'm Dylan.
Stanley.
And we are bringing you a little bit of news. It's Screen Source News Break. And we've got some news to you about the director of the newest, not quite John Wick film, but it's going to be a John Wick spinoff.
Yes.
It's just the fact that the studio Lionsgate has set Len Wiseman to direct Ballerina, and it's going to be an action spin-off of the quite lucrative John Wick franchise. Now, the character in Ballerina appeared in John Wick 3 Parabellum.
Okay.
So that's a whole thing. It's going to be the story of a young female assassin who is after the people that killed her family.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it's going to be an interesting one. And just the fact that Keanu's going to be he's going to be producing the whole thing.
Okay.
And he might be appearing in it.
Yeah.
Which,
Sure.
no, sounds like an interesting way to do it. But yeah, so it's going to be, let's see here. The script writer was Shay Haddon, who wrote Army of the Dead. That was the Zack Snyder Army of the Dead.
That's coming out,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And
That was
then-
shot here. That was shot in Albuquerque as well.
Oh, it was.
Oh, yeah. Hey, so there's an Albuquerque connection there.
Yeah, College Circuit Board member Bond was hanging out with Zack Snyder a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
yeah.
he's been all over that. He's been all over that movie. I think he's a producer, or he's a assistant producer. Or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what they're saying about this is just they're not really certain who's going to be the star of the spinoff, but just that this was a character that appeared in John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. So it looks like we're doing this kind of as a possible Gaiden story, if you will, as they head into John Wick 4
Right.
as
Okay.
well. Yeah, and the eponymous John Wick may actually be appearing in this one, and that's just kind of exciting to see. You know, if he'll just kind of pop his head in or pop some heads himself.
Right,
Yeah, no
right.
kidding.
And and it's going to be just a side story about probably very, very bloody, stylized revenge.
Right.
And that certainly seems like an interesting one. And I mean, Lionsgate knows which side their bread is buttered on.
Sure.
So if they've got just affiliated stories, plus, the entire way that the whole assassination game goes in this world is one that is deeply engrossing.
Oh yeah, and they've that's one things I have liked about the movies is they've really each movie they've expanded the world.
Right.
And they've brought in new characters and new aspects and things, which I dig. I hate when sequels just rehash the same storylines and things.
Yeah.
And like I like
Star
that they're
Wars.
I like that they're building the world. They're expanding it.
Okay. Oh, I see that. At first, I thought it was going to be that was maybe the character's code name or something, but it turns out it's going to be the story of a ballerina turned assassin.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Somebody who
yeah.
has their own kind of signature style, and it was one of the bloody and colorful characters within that very black and harsh world.
When he goes to see Angelica Houston,
Who plays
there's
the director?
There's the thing with I thought the ballerina got shot in that. I don't know, maybe not.
How much of a spoiler do you want to put in this?
For John Wick 3?
Yeah, she gets her hand. She gets like a knife through her hand or something.
Okay. So is that our character? Is that the
That's
ballerina?
what I'm wondering.
Okay, so the implication. Oh, sorry. The implication here is going to be that this is one. It is a student
One
of
of them.
the same
One of them.
school
Right,
at
okay.
which John Wick
Right,
learned like
sure.
his bloody art.
Right,
So,
yeah.
So it's going to be just
Cool.
basically one of the hot young up and comers.
Sure.
In the world of death for hire. So
Right.
that ought to be interesting. And she's already got her motivation because with John Wick, he was a dude who never took it personally, and then they made it personal, and she starts off personal. So
Right.
Yeah.
sounds like an interesting story. And I mean, we're nowhere near completion on this thing.
I
No.
hope not.
No.
I think people are really starting to grab onto this franchise. And I've said this several times before, but for me, it's the successor of other big American action franchises like, oh my God, the Tom Cruise series.
Yeah, Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
and,
Definitely.
Yeah, it's and like the Fast and the Furious, only like just people are getting hit with bullets, not cars.
Right. The 007, which is now starting to change trajectory too.
Sure.
We just announced a new James Bond.
Yep.
or no, 007. He's still James Bond. But
He's
it's a
still
new
James Bond, but
007.
they're gonna bring in. Yeah, they're doing different things.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah, I love these films. I saw the third one a couple of times. Halle
Yeah, it's
Berry
good.
kicked ass in it, and she's in her mid-50s.
Yeah.
She's doing
Yep.
so good.
Oh, she's still holding it down.
And does
Yeah,
Looks
and that
great.
I thought it was maybe the craziest knife fight scene I had ever seen in a film. But I watched The Raid 2 finally.
Yeah.
Good. Off your
It's good.
recommendation to watch The Raid. I don't know. Oh, it was because we were watching that trailer to that film with the same actor from Raid 2, but he was in that. What trailer
He's all
was
over
that?
the place now, though.
Yeah.
He's kind of
in
everywhere?
a ton of
Yeah.
things now.
He's
yeah.
good. He's real good.
Yeah, he's blowing up.
The main actor from that movie. But anyways, there's a knife fight in that was remarkable.
Yeah.
That movie's fucking gory.
It's right.
Which one,
yeah.
the Raid?
Raid.
Oh, yeah.
And the Raid
2
2.
even more so.
The Raid
I've,
2
I've
more
not
so,
seen
yeah.
Raid
Yeah, it's like
2.
watching
I-
Hostel 2.
But with
torture
action.
porn in a
Yeah.
fight scene.
Yeah,
But it's
like-
action, yeah.
It's action, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. Yeah, and it's kind of funny too because we were just talking about some Matrix news too, which is basically the Matrix.
Oh, sure.
The
not
star
reloaded.
of. Yeah.
Well, definitely the star, and just the action pedigree.
Yeah,
You know, because
well,
he was when the Matrix came out, it was all about his work ethic on learning the kung fu in the Matrix, and then John Wick, it was about just him adding to his skill set.
Right, and we have all the same like choreographers and stunt coordinators.
Yeah.
And
I think Keanu Reeves could legit, take people out if he needed to.
And,
like
well,
he's trained for it.
Yeah, showing all of that, battlefield training stuff with all the guns and switching out weapons and doing all that stuff at a high rate of speed for another guy who's in his 50s now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was pretty intense to see all the work that he'd gone through in that. Oh, one of the other things that I wanted to touch on is the fact that I just kind of threw away the line that Len Wiseman was going to be the director attached to this project.
Right.
Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with the work of Len Wiseman, he's somebody whose pedigree goes back he's been at it for at least 3 decades now.
Okay. Right.
Because he was the guy who made Live Free or Die Hard. He made Total Recall. Okay. Yeah, he's been on it for a while.
But I think I don't know if those were his first, but he did the
He did Underworld.
Underworld, the
well.
ones with the vampires
Kate
and
Beckinsale,
and the lichens.
yeah, those are from the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think he took over the Saw sequels,
Did
Really?
he now?
Okay,
or maybe that's a different director.
Eh,
But he's been around a while.
but he knows action.
He's
Yeah.
action oriented,
Yeah.
definitely.
We're not
Yeah.
worried about these films
No.
going anywhere. Going
It's
down
actually
the
No,
probably a
not
good choice. I mean, if it's like a B movie action, kind of, he's probably one
Yep.
of the top names for that.
And that's kind of the thing too, because if it's going to be the stuff like with Underworld, I mean, it had female lead, very action centric, and if they've got a guy who already knows how to make that happen, because the Underworld series had some legs as well.
Yeah.
It definitely was around for a couple of years.
They squeezed 5 or 6 of them.
yeah,
Out,
yeah.
So yeah.
And if he already knows how to do, more female centric action series, then I'm sure the film Ballerina will definitely be in good hands.
Yeah, it's a good name too. I'm stoked
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was something that I thought was really cool, because I thought if that was just like the code name for the character, that would have been really cool. But if it's somebody who is actually a ballerina turned killer, that sounds dope.
Yeah, it should be really cool.
That's I don't. Is this a new thing now? I mean, I don't. I think it's maybe influence from like Marvel. Like everyone's like wanting having a shared universe now.
Yeah, as far as like these franchises are concerned, this was certainly one of my new favorites.
Right.
It's hard to beat Marvel and
Right.
what Marvel and Star Wars are doing,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I like that there's a good action one.
I just see a trend that more and more, these bigger franchises are starting to
with the
explore.
spin-offs. Oh, you're like
explore-
Hobbs and Shaw.
There's
Yeah.
those
Oh
now.
yeah, Fast and Furious
and-
presents.
right.
and they're
Yeah,
and
good point.
this is definitely a good world to play around in.
It reminds me of like what television does, right? Like they'll do whole episodes on side characters that were like,
Right.
we hadn't seen a lot of their life, and now we do. Now we see a lot of what Mike's life was in Better Call Saul, or even Saul himself,
Right.
that kind of thing. So I like that films are not worried about
Right.
expanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's cool just because within the world of John Wick, like they could do the equivalent of a bottle episode, which would be something like The Raid,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
or like Dread, or something like that, where it
Right.
was just like, okay, we're stuck in this building, all these assholes are trying to kill us, and our only solution is to kill them back
Right.
all the way through this, you know,
Right,
and it was just big world of assassins with that weird code of honor-esque thing.
Yeah.
Just it sounds like they could really ride this a long time.
I think they could, yeah, and I think I bet it ends when Keanu say it's over.
Yeah.
Says it's
Pretty
over.
much.
More
Pretty
or
much.
Yeah, he really got his hand in this because it's a passion project. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that was our news for
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 the
Ballerina.
director of the new John Wick spin-off film. So that's going to do it for this particular bit for Screen Source News Break.
Yeah.
And for everybody
Breaking
out
news.
there in YouTube landia, please make sure to like what you've seen. Please make sure to subscribe to Color Circuit and to Screen Source, and gently massage that notify bell. We love you.